What's up, creative community? Welcome back to Open Class Doodles, episode 23, Tactical Doodles for Success. This is the one and only, the Coach MC Studio. This is the place where we'll help you actors, performers, entertainers to really shape unique, very intriguing and compelling behavior deliveries and to stand out in the audition room, no matter where you're auditioning or what you're auditioning for. It's always about communicating your ideas, your speech, your monologue, your emotions in the most impactful, genuine, and authentic way. And this is our mission over here. We have acting tips videos on our channel. We have career strategy tips, and we have monthly master classes free to register, where we come together as a creative community. Live shows such as this one, the Open Class Doodles, where we love just to help you and get informed also by the feedback, what really kind of, is effective and helpful for you, so we can grow as a community, create better culture, better entertainment, better performances, and also have more fun in the process, shall we? So today we're gonna cover a super important topic, something that is becoming, one of our, I think, major focus points this year, definitely. Something that we definitely always should pay attention to, because we're talking about Hollywood. And there is this very provocative question that kind of, floats in the room that we're always asking, I guess, at the end or in the middle, at the beginning of every decade: is Hollywood dying? Yes or no? We're going to discover it in this video. So without any further ado, let's see what's cooking. Is Hollywood dying? Are we all gonna, suffer the consequences? Are we gonna survive? Is the Titanic going down? Are we gonna be, still alive next year? What's going to happen on Planet Entertainment? We're gonna discover it today, because we wanna also take another look at the development of the Iatse strike development, the negotiations that are taking place. You're going to take a look at Hollywood in itself as a business model. And we've been talking, over this topic many times on this channel. You just jump to the videos last year, directly after the so-called sea virus. We kind of flew out to LA. We checked for the local situation there. We interviewed people and creatives. We shot a documentary about LA and the living there as actors and performers and school and teachers and business owners. What do you do there in order to kind of thrive in the entertainment industry? So for us, LA is a very dearly and very passionate topic on this channel, and we covered many videos about it. We went to the picket lines to see what the strike for the actors union, for the writers union was doing, what the demands were actually from the people protesting every day. We shot a couple of beautiful interviews there, so check out the videos that we also did in the past, because they are all linked to each other. This is like a prolonged series, you might call it, because of course LA, for entertainers, for record owners, for people who are in the performance entertaining showbiz, right? Even people that are in fashion, somehow in their lives, right, they need to travel to this mecca called Hollywood, because in Hollywood, in those beautiful Hollywood hills, inside of the studios, and all around LA and also in the greater California area, you find so many influential, powerful, very interesting and creative people that are somehow all connected to the studio networks, to the creatives that are living in LA and then also the neighboring cities. And so therefore it's a very interesting and beautiful business, because it involves so many factors and so many aspects and so many elements of society, not only actors and directors and camera operators. It's just an incredibly ramified universe. And this is why the Iatse, the Iatse negotiations and what the Teamsters, are requesting, because Iatse, of course, stands for the off-camera talent, everybody who's involved in filmmaking. And we're talking about the soul of filmmaking here. And this is, I'm not just saying this now out for, the glamour and the reason of being here. And by the way, welcome to the chat, of course. Welcome to Serena Tassinato. Hi, Lorenzo. Welcome back. Hi, Lorenzo. Welcome back with a new video. Yes, for sure. Welcome also to the Facebook and Instagram crowd. You can see definitely that this is a very important topic for me. So that's why I want to give you the most out of it and the most condensed also amount of time. I don't want to, waste your time and give you the most effective information. And what I think is truly important also for our future kind of development in this business. Because like I said, it's a universe, and the Teamster universe is a very special one, right? I've explained this in our last video where we started to cover this topic. You want to check it out somewhere over there, right? The team is the soul. If you mistreat the soul, then you mistreat the very essence, the very entity of filmmaking. And I know the producers that might listen to this, right? The executives and the people who are more for, responsible for the structural, transactional, and more for, of course, the administration and organizational part, they might think, oh, right. An artist again, he talks about his ideals, about the spirit, the essence, the beauty of art, blah, 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 blah. They want to make money, right? They want to keep an industry alive. They want to also feed people. But now we're coming to a place where the industry, of course, through the digital revolution, has kind of cannibalized, the technology. They have all sorts of rights for the distribution, for making money. They have the right to print money, basically. And we got a bit detached from that universe. It seems like we're talking about two entities now. This has happened, of course, increasingly due to the innovation, due to the beautiful advantages that we're also getting from the technological sector, and all the productions who have massively profited, also in terms of style and art from the evolution of computer and systems and the power that stands behind that, right? In terms of graphic effects, any type of inlays, the aging technologies, all that. So look at a movie like T2, Terminator, right? Beautiful movie. And it that was one of, I think it's quite ironically, Skynet in the beginning of that movie for Industrial Light and Magic, of course, a company already formed and founded by George Lucas. But through that movie, ILM stepped into a new arena, right? Computer technology took over the movie. The tricks were so fascinating. They weren't unseen till that day. And in a way, in a sense, I mean, of course, James Cameron, George Lucas, they changed filmmaking. They changed movie making. They've written their own chapters of legendary testaments, even if some of them, no, basically all of them have been ruined through the later movies, right? Whether we're talking about Terminator or Star Wars, I mean, look at the movies that came out later, kind of very, very bad stuff, right? But we're not talking about bashing movies today. We're talking about the importance of understanding, acknowledging, and identifying, even for the studio executives, for the accountants, for everybody who sits on the structural, on the left hemisphere of things, right? It's understandable. You have your legitimacy. You have to run business. You have to make this whole system work. But on the other side, you have to acknowledge that there is a right hemisphere. The left hemisphere, that has been proven definitely for the last 24 years, cannot exist on itself, all alone, without the right hemisphere. And the right hemisphere is the talent, but it's most importantly also the Teamsters. And why do I say most importantly? For me as an actor, coming on set and having the possibility, right, to kind of immediately plunge myself into the Teamster universe. And I'm not saying, like, I've been on projects that were super, super important, high budget, and people were not even behaving that conservative, but they were just thinking about so many things, right? Assistant directors, camera operators, lighting department, they were just thinking, because they were so high budget movies, they were just not in the mood for talking, it wasn't the right place. But sometimes it's not even about the talk, it's just about the spirit that they give you just by observing them, right? You see their incredible professional work, their dedication, their love for detail. And these people, they are pushing 60, 70, 75, even more hours a week. And sometimes, you ask yourself, like, if the right hemisphere, if all these passionate lovers of their craft, these incredible, craft-worthy, individuals that invest so much time in elaborating better techniques and kind of creating their own instruments, or just perfectionizing their craft, you can't even imagine, right? So on their own, the Teamsters, and I mean, they're just tech nerds. They're just people who love the craft. They're lens nerds, and I can say this because even in my own family, right, brother of my beautiful wife, he's he's on set as well. He's a camera operator and assistant, and of course he buys all the new gadgets and all the new technique. Of course he kind of reads all the resources and gets educated constantly because he needs to improve his handling because technologically, everything is developing so fast. No, the problem is that at a certain point, like I said, technology was completely put into the hands of the distributors, of everybody who's creating and producing the movie. And so in the end, the workforce got always, pushed down when we're talking about wages, when we're talking about improvements for the living on set, and also depressurizing the soul of the movie. And this is where we have to come to an understanding. Even though numbers are important, these people, the executives, the studio networks, and everybody who sits behind them and commands the agenda, they need to realize without the right hemisphere, you're just not making good entertainment anymore. And people won't watch your stuff anymore. And this is exactly what's happening. We've been covering this on Saturday Night Hypnosis for over a year now. Basically almost 2 years now, right? We're reading out every Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Hypnotics YouTube channel, Saturday Night Hypnosis, and me being part of this beautiful panel. We talk about this now for over, for almost 2 years, how the numbers are they're just scary, right? They're throwing more and more, they're kicking more and more people out, and the movies are making less and less revenue. The projects are getting more and more expensive to produce, and they're just bloating up the market. And at a certain point, this whole creature will collapse. So what is going on this strike front? And why is this potentially a death blow, right? If this whole deal doesn't work out nicely, it could be another deadly blow to the industry. And I love this industry. I love LA. I love filmmaking. I love movies. I love film people. I love the crew. I want this to be a good culture again. Something that is, and it still is. I mean, don't get me wrong. Not everything is so dark how sometimes media describes it, right? And it's also a part of, us, our mission as actors, as people who get on set and get, everything served on a silver platter to behave accordingly. You can ask my coworkers. For me, coming on set was coming back to a family every day. And of course, like in a good family, sometimes you have your quarrels, sometimes you have more your thing going on. And especially in my case, where we shot 18 years in a row, pretty much with the same people, with the same crew, at a certain point, you can't stand people anymore, right? Or you just take longer breaks in your, kind of communication, or it just kind of deviate, kind of everybody lives his own lives at a certain point. But with most of them, you're still cool. You still like to see them. It's still great. And with some, you develop great relationships and friendships, coming over, cooking, maybe going out on a trip, doing something on the weekends. It gets like real friendship. So therefore it becomes family. The team is your family. And so therefore, this is why I feel like this topic especially is truly important to us over here at the Coach UC studio. My wife and I, we grew up on movie sets. We believe in movie sets. There is really something going on that you can, it's magic, right? And we have to thank the production companies, of course, for giving us this opportunity, but they have to thank us for our spirit, for our intention, and for our love to detail, and not exploit the love that we have for this art and our passion, not exploit that by putting us down in wages and putting us up in hours and saying, hey, but it's the most beautiful job in the world. Well, if people die over this or get seriously injured, like that their life changes completely, like paralysis or like an amputation, like we will also discuss today. I mean, bad things also happen on set. And of course, security and all that is all a topic. We just want to make sure that this world can somehow survive, because I feel for millions of people, it just means hope. It means good entertainment. It means a great time. And why should we not have that anymore? When everything is put down under the umbrella of a certain agenda and it's not creative anymore, that's the death of art. We need to come back of that, because art is the spirit, that is the soul of every human being. And again, love and art, and love is art and life in a way. And after this super poetic intro, I think we deserved a like. I mean, we have a couple of viewers here, like, and I think before we start with the nitty gritty, we deserve the like over here at the Coach MC Studio, just for this 15-minute intro, right? So like and subscribe to the channel for sure, because it just helps us to spread the word algorithmically. And you also show the, you know, the YouTube algorithm what you value and cherish the most. So it's a way also to get, you know, offered and recommended certain type of content that you cherish and value as well. So it makes the whole, you know, streaming habit a bit more efficient. But besides that, you know, why is the strike going on in the end? Let's present the issue here. So Iatse is basically an umbrella organization that has under its dome 170,000 workers. And these workers, they represent, these 170,000 workers, they actually represent the soul of filmmaking, right? These are the people that show up 5, 4, 3:30, 2 o'clock in the morning and start building, you know, the set, you know, kind of the props manager, set decorators, a gaffer, everybody who's kind of creating the set, right, is there already. And before the actor shows up, before the director shows up, it really also depends, of course, on the acting style and the working style of everybody involved. But so these people that are working inside of that, hey, Sonia Lisette. Hey, what's up, my friend? What's up, Sonia? Thank you so much for stopping by. Rosita Macarons, thanks for covering this topic, of course. Sure. And Serena has written something. I was in my monologue, so I didn't really check the comments here. That's a very amateur type of mistake I shouldn't do. Have you, Serena is asking, have you talked about your personal experience about your work in the soap opera or in general? When you've talked about movies, set, family, friendship, I think also in general is like this. Oh yes, for sure. For sure. Like your life, of course, becomes very entrenched, or for some it becomes very entrenched with the people you're working with on a constant basis, right? So whether that's at a movie set or anywhere else in the corporate world, at a certain point, I mean, it has to be a very rigid and a very fearful and a very, you know, kind of dark type of working environment if you're not starting to pick up with some people and start some relationships, right? How much those relationships will actually mean to you, I mean, that's written on another page, but definitely will happen over time, just for the sake of convenience of, you know, creating some social structures, because we're social animals in the end. But in the end, yes, even in the most severe and cold, dark workplace, you can start to create relationships. Now imagine you have a creative bunch of nerds and crazy folks who will never sleep and are just, you know, and everybody in his way in love with his department, and they show up every day to work with all of their problems and all of their beautiful experiences as well. And they, you know, every day there is this beautiful and great energy. I love being on set just for that. So if I understand it right, this strike in Hollywood is about people behind of the camera, right? It's all off-camera talent. If I might, last year there was a strike of actors. You went there. I remember your video in August. I think, yes, right. We went there, exactly. We went to the picket line of Netflix. And it was a very interesting experience, because when we shot that video, we already had a certain idea through our research. And people still on the picket line, they thought, yeah, this definitely will improve the situation. But what we did after that, we read also the contract and analyzed the result of that picket line, of that 6-month ongoing demonstration. Because let's spin back the wheel of time really quick. We had the so-called C virus, and after that there was a complete change of the Hollywood business model already, and things diminished in terms of, yeah, because of the social distance, we can have like a crowded set anymore. Many people are not regarded as essential workforce anymore. And of course, there was also this controversy also going on in public with other, you know, elements of the workforce of LA that were not related to entertainment industry, where they said, why? let's wait a second. So these people can shoot, right? Because it's called essential work, and we can open up our restaurant because of the social restrictions were going on, and they had their own permits. And this is how important and vital film industry is to California and ultimately also to the world, because again, this is content that millions of people are watching and consuming on a daily basis. So Hollywood basic local negotiations update. There are, local 6095 reaches tentative agreement with AMPTP, others locals talks to follow. And it seems like on the following day of in-person negotiations, the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, AMPTP, and International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, Iatse, Local 6095, reached a tentative agreement on the locals' craft-specific issues. Monday, Iatse International Vice President Mike Miller commented, "I applaud the leadership shown by Local 6095 Negotiation Committee. Their work to prepare thoroughly for this round of negotiations helped pave the way for this tentative agreement." So what happens here is Iatse is an umbrella organization, and like I just said, all the talents that are off camera, pretty much everybody that is involved from stage preparation to set up the set, from the production set, everybody is sort of, there are many different local units to this bigger umbrella union that represents various aspects of filmmaking, various facets. There is not just one, there's not just the chief lighting engineer and all his crew no, there's pretty much everybody of every department represented. That's why there are 170,000 members to this incredibly, influential, important union. And so some of them, of course, are discussing their terms. Some of these unions, let's say that, the camera department union is discussing some terms of their residuals. Some of the others are discussing more like, okay, what are my wages in terms of increase? Some of the others like, hey, we have to face, cutbacks happening due to AI and the implementation of, cyber intelligence and artificial intelligence that are taking away jobs from us. Because again, from the C virus on, we already had a major crisis happening through the reshaping, the necessary quote unquote reshaping of the Hollywood business model. So already the skeleton got thinner and thinner in terms of workforce, and the hours got more and more, and the pressure got even higher than it was already in the past. You have to understand that shooting movies sometimes is a very stressful endeavor, and we will talk about this as well. So that these people will, after, of course, the actors and the writers, after that, chronologically in the timeline, went on strike for 6 months, they ruined the business even more. I mean, they ruined altogether the business. We ruined the business, right? We are a part of this. And again, it was also due to the cutbacks of Corona, the cutbacks due to AI, the reshaping of the production model, the streaming services losing members in millions and kind of making cutbacks there, and basically producing also less content. The numbers are evident, right? So what happens is if you have less project, less money, less security, more stress, more hours, at a certain point you come to, to a threshold of total collapse, mental and physical collapse, right? People, they literally pass out on set sometimes. They need to sleep and take a rest because the pressure is enormously high, even though they always tell you, hey, we're not exercising and not operating on an open brain here. It's not open brain surgery, so don't worry. But in the end, it's super important. It's super important for them. And they exercise a lot of pressure in here to kind of work nicely, even to the actors, right? Of course. So they had to face cutbacks from Corona. Then they had faced cutbacks from the recent writers and actors strike, because that ultimately, that type of challenge and then costed jobs also in that sector, in the team sector. Cutbacks through the streaming platforms also battling a little bit with the prices against each other. So you see, the problem is that always the workforce has to suffer. And I'm not saying that there should be like one predominant law that will always regulate. That is, again, that's socialism. It will always have contractions and expansions. Every market kind of regulates naturally and organically itself. we are not going to see Hollywood die tomorrow, and it's not going to be over and we're going to stop shooting movies. We had this situation already. We talked about it in other videos where we clearly have spoken about a cultural cycle that every 40 years, roughly every 40 years, comes back, blossoms up, and then kind of, eats itself up, right? The revolution always eats its own kids. It's always a cycle of progression, regression, expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction, contraction, expansion. I should make a song out of it. Don't you agree? Let me know in the comment section if I should make a song out of it. So therefore, I'm not going to say now it's going to be the nemesis forever. But even these talks, right? Okay, they're setting up talks where every department is kind of negotiating pre-deals. But in the end, it's this umbrella deal that really counts. That is the universal deal that will kind of, set the terms for all 170,000 people who are involved in this, right? So finally, Iatse is calling on all film and TV sisters, brothers, and kin to participate on Fight Fridays and wear union swag each Friday for the remainder of the negotiations to visually showcase our power and unity across the country. And it feels like we heard this already. The International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, or Iatse, full name, International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, Moving Picture Technicians, Artists, and Allied Crafts of the United States, its territories, and Canada. Even Canada. I can't believe it. We have even Canada. Is a labor union representing over 170,000 technicians, artisans, and craftspersons in the entertainment industry, including live events, motion picture and television production, broadcast, and trade shows in the United States and Canada. Incredible. No, but, jokes aside, it's an important issue. Hollywood is facing a lot of pressure points. Recently, these movies that they're bringing out are flopping. We're asking ourselves questions like, is it really worth it to go to the movies anymore? And they're reducing their workforce, they're reducing the spirit, they're reducing the right hemisphere of this industry increasingly. And you can just do this for a certain amount of time until everything will at a certain point collapse and then kind of reinvent itself. And this is what I'm talking about with these cycles. So therefore, we need to be prepared when that stuff, when it happens, when this time will come, where is at a certain point, like in the 60s, where they called the Scorseses and they called the Bogdanovics and they called the crazy folks that, Dennis Hoppers, Ford Coppolas, they called them into the building and said, hey, make movies, right? We need again to look at the movies and not at the agenda, not at politics, not at, kind of reducing and letting AI taking over. Because in the end, what we're seeing here is also, the introduction of a major component more and more coming into full fruition, which is AI. And we will talk about this in a second. I just want to kind of remind you guys that I'm not here to be the doomsayer or anything like that. Quite the contrary. I'm recommending to position yourself in this time of uncertainty, in this time of doubt, in this time of fear. Because when there is FUD spreading around, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, this is the right time to take action, to not get distracted by the FUD, by the scarcity, by the insecurity and the destabilization that is also brought to us through the media complexes. This is the time when we should relax the most, when we should when in doubt, zoom out, take a step aside and say, all right, let these people go with the madness, with the craziness, let them be distracted and kind of, moved into fake controversies, right? Or whatever, the agenda of the day is, because the media complex needs to survive. So every day news have to come out, and otherwise this whole thing will crumble down. So sometimes they bring news out just for the sake for letting people talk. But in the end, that's energy that you're wasting on someone else's agenda instead of working for your own agenda. And this is what Teamsters are saying, right? They're saying, look, if we have to work 60, 65 hours, 50, 55 hours, yes. And of course we have over hours that are getting paid. But nonetheless, it's a very hard and demanding work. We're just, you know, kind of getting paid for that cycle, for that week, but on a daily amount, we make crazy hours, right? And that, and we stay away from families, we stay away from our home, we stay away from sanity. And so if you get overworked like that and put under so much pressure like that, and if working conditions are getting worse and worse, like we're seeing on the movie set also of Rust, right, where it's absolutely crazy what happened. Someone got shot there because of negligence, because of hurry, because of rush, because of whatever happened that day. So that's not something that should happen. Or we look at Olivia Jackson, right, the famous stunt woman from Resident Evil who stunt double for Mila Jovovich many times, that lost her left arm and got her lung punctured during, you know, shooting the stunt scene on a motorcycle in South Africa for Resident Evil. I don't remember which installation it was. And now she's fighting back in a great way. I mean, look at her Instagram account. It's fantastic how this woman is reacting to that. But nonetheless, this, you know, there is this number coming out from the, I think it was, yeah, Associated Press bringing this out, that there were between 1990 and 2016, there were over 43 fatalities and 150 life-altering injuries happening on film and television sets in the United States. And this is just the official number, mind you, right? So again, these people, they're facing a lot of challenges during their daily routine, right, when they're working on movies. So I just want to show you just really quick what I mean, right? This is an Instagram page from the Teamsters, where they anonymously can just post, you know, work-related stories and experiences, positive ones, but also less positive ones. And when you read through these stories, it's absolutely crazy, right? This person, I will just pick one. I work as an animator, so animation, I don't see, it's all anonymously. So I work as an animator for a major feature film studio. Over the years, I've seen a trend of studios working us harder and harder with no end in sight. Each year we have a guaranteed crunch period where we work 55 to 75-hour weeks for several months. To be fair, the overtime is paid, but the long hours are exhausting, mentally draining, and burn everyone out. The turnover is so high, artists are being recycled basically every week. Everyone I work with is miserable, and many are leaving the industry entirely. This business model is clearly not sustainable. We deserve a normal work-life balance, 40 hours a week. We're making cartoons, for goodness sake. Just because some of us join animation because we love the craft doesn't mean we can do it 24/7. These studios need to stop exploiting us. Absolutely. They're exploiting not us, they're exploiting our love, our passion. This happens to actors as well. Many times, you know, they're coming to us, right? Because sometimes our contract doesn't cover over hours, and, you know, they're just strictly forbidden, and they, you know, should ask for permission. And then, you know, they just come on stage and they tell you, hey, can you push some more hours? Can you do me a favor? Can you do this? And, you know, we're constantly in this crunch zone where we don't feel really protected and dealing with issues that are not related to our job, where we have to face a major opposition against us. So we are automatically in a better position with no support on our backs, right? And if you try to call your agent under that circumstance, he's just gonna laugh, right? So what should you do? This is enormous pressure we're talking about, right? Because you, of course, certain productions, they just request that, and you know you can't say no, right? And you're pushing hard hours or sometimes unsustainable work conditions as well as an actor. Sometimes out there in the wild, it's cold, there is literally nothing. You shoot for hours and hours and hours, and he wants more and more and more and drains more and more, and you know, sometimes you don't even get a tea or something, right? And so it gets hard sometimes, right? And so you have to push through, and they ask for sacrifices. But then when you ask something for something back, it's usually they just they disappear, right? Meritocracy is not something that drives this environment ultimately, not always though. Yeah, of course. It drives it to this in the sense of that you get your exposure, but this is part of the job description. This is not something that they should pay you for, right? It's part of the job that you get exposed. So of course you do this because you want to get exposed, because you want to be seen. There's a little narcissist, right, living in all of us. So that's okay, but this is why we do this in the first place. That doesn't mean that we should get recompensated for that in a fair manner, because you make incredible amount of money out of movies. And here we have to face stories like this. So there is local 839 member here. Streaming has made season orders these days so short. Most of us are hustling for our next job as soon as we start a new one, lest we end up unemployed for months on and lose our insurance. Due to short orders, we barely get enough time to adapt to each show's voice and art style, which can take a while for the whole crew to break in. Of course, you have to understand the spirit of the show, right? What you're getting into, what they are trying to convey, and also getting in touch with the people, because it's a thing about empathy and about emotion and relationship on set, not just of executing, a task. We don't get to know our crew matters these days, we don't get to know our crewmates these days either. Not really. Most of us are still VFH and aren't introduced to one another. You just usually have a single individual to communicate with for work submissions. And with such a short work contract, it's difficult to reach out and make those connections. Shows get canceled out of the blue. People have gone to work on a normal day and have been told their production is pencils down and the show is canceled effective immediately. Those that get a full first season will still get canceled. Alternatively, they won't be greenlit for a new season until it's too late to rehire the same crew, since those people have gone elsewhere to look for work, of course. That, or if the show makes it past season one, it's more likely than not these days that you'll be working on multiple seasons in one fast push rather than one at a time. That's true. Something that happened to us as well. We were working on multiple weeks, not on 1 week anymore, right? When you're shooting for soap operas, you're working multiple weeks in advance, because you can actually, lean the process so much that they will give you just more scenes to shoot, even if you finish your shooting schedule, before time, right? We had to communicate in such a way that we would always end and like in a half 35 minutes before shooting schedule would officially end, so they wouldn't feed us in a new scene. They would just push in scenes, right, to shoot, even though we were already shooting scenes from the upcoming week. So that was crazy. You were not shooting 1 week at a time anymore already back then, 2005, 2006. And it just got worse and worse, which shouldn't happen, because you should focus, even as an actor, just on that week. Right, you have a soap opera, whatever soap opera, with a telenovela, a weekly show, whatever it is. Right, the beauty is of focusing on that week and really getting in tune with the scene. Sometimes we criticize the actors on screen, saying, "Hey, he played that scene kind of incoherently, and I didn't like his style, or it didn't make any sense." Yeah, you know why? Because production companies sometimes, when it's so difficult to shoot one string and one string alone of a narration arc of a character, that sometimes you lose the compass where you are in the story, right? You don't really know. It's like, is this happening before we had our fight or afterwards, where we made peace already with each other? It's like, and so sometimes you were scrambling in your head for the continuity. And since these directors were also changing the script supervisor, you couldn't just ask the script supervisor, because it was a new one, right? So it's getting increasingly difficult to produce high quality content, and you see that. That's why the network, the streaming services have cut down on content making, because having more seasons to cover, it gets increasingly difficult. With each season, you have to pretty much keep your workforce into place, and you have to guarantee them the long-term, contract or the employment. Otherwise, they will, look out for new projects. I mean, of course, eventually some people will always drop out and drop in. They, this is a train, and sometimes at a hole, you kind of hop in, hop out. All right, sure. When you have long-term content, for sure. If you're shooting over 3-4 seasons, you know, you won't always have, but to a certain point, you need to kind of have that structural integrity. You need to keep a spiritual skeleton alive, that, you know, you can't stretch your goal too thin out, out too thinly, because then you will lose, you know, the show's drive. It is important to kind of at least keep, some of the workforce attached to a project as long as you can, to kind of, at least in the fundamental departments, to kind of keep the spirit alive, to kind of keep that initial idea that, you know, the canon, executed originally and accurately according to what the authors, you know, the initial thoughts were, because shows sometimes they can dilute themselves in the process if you change too much of the creative workforce and also of the Teamsters workforce. But we see with those testaments here, you know, what people have to face sometimes, you know, the uncertainty, the hours. Hey there, I'm a member, local 839. I have stories. I work companies about 5 years of experience as a visual development. It gave me a title, texture artist, a title often reserved for 3D artists who paint textures on 3D models, even though the work I was doing was that of a visual division artist. Years later, when I was rolling off my show and trying to find placement on a new one, the internal recruiter said, "Oh, I see that you made the switch from CG. What made you decide that?" When I told her that I actually had never switched and that was the title given to me when I started, she shut up very quickly and got super awkward. Yeah, the problem is that sometimes they let you do work. Actually, they give you, like, even if you are responsible over a team, let's say you're, you know, a team leader, like this, I think I saw what this testament is like, is very interesting. This is what I would like when COVID started, the animation industry pivoted on a dime to a work from home model, right? It was a rapid shift, but it worked. We continued working hard even in the face of the pandemic. Sure, everybody did it in the beginning, and even found the added space and quiet of home to help me stay focused. Beautiful. Over the past few weeks, especially, studios are pushing us hard to return to the office multiple times this week. This was a bit after COVID, a couple of years ago. I have been asked to come to the office for one reason or another. For our industry, though, this doesn't make sense. Trying to return all studio members to the office seems like a recipe for a spike in the COVID cases back then, right? In addition to that, I do all my work on a computer, and I'm able to turn the reviews remotely. There is nothing I'm able to do from the office that I can't do from home. For some people, I understand the office is important, so as long as it's practical and safe, there should be options for those people. But unnecessarily returning our entire workforce to the office seems like careless recklessness and on the part of the employers. This was back then when there were still concerns about the spikes and what could happen, because it was shortly after, like, slowly letting us return back to work, right? But yeah, what he was addressing is also a bit of hypocrisy that went on in the studios and also with the other essential workforce, right? Some stuff could be done for no reason, other stuff not. And so if it was helpful in kind of, you know, fitting the agenda, and then of course it was deemed non-dangerous. If it somehow, you know, was costing more money or whatever, then it deems like, oh, no, I'm sorry. No, we can't accept this, right? And so there was a lot of hypocrisy also going on during that period that caused even more insecurity for the workforce. And this is, you know, I could read a lot of these messages are really, it's incredible. These people were really, you know, in the way they were pushed out of their regular work and kind of doing these over hours, many complaining that they were, yes, team leaders, but then actually making less money than before because they were doing just more hours. They had also to kind of, mentor, internships and making sure that new employees were getting kind of, worked in, but he was not getting actually more money. He was just getting more work. The title was a bit more prestigious, but in the end, and this happens to a lot of people complaining that, they are making sure that the Teamsters stay out of the major responsibility. They are separating the production world completely from the Teamster and of course also from the creative world. And they did this more and more. And by taking control of AI and kind of replacing also, if you think of a, a sound designer or a sound editor, if you think about a regular film editor, if you think about many production participants that now can be replaced by AI, and they can run these machines 24/7, right? And they knew that. They knew that, and not just from 2021. They knew that from long time before that, because they're from California. They're working with these companies. Sometimes they were even part of these technological developments. So they knew exactly that AI increasingly would take over the industry. And of course, they didn't bother to kind of explain to the people that there would be radically, like a change come to the whole industry, to the whole world and the business model itself. Again, we talked about this on the channel, that more and more of the stuff is getting, if you think about a casting, right? Okay, we can send in self-tapes. Of course, that's beautiful. But the thing about having a pilot season in one town and, ongoing castings, that type of energy where the building is kind of vibrating and buzzing and people coming in and exchanging that energy, that is just a beautiful part of show business. You can't create everything from the safe comfort of your home. It is convenient, but on the other hand, you're cutting off again what the actual creative right hemisphere type of, element, what that essence is actually all about. That is so important for that industry, because yes, they're playing the numbers game more and more by saying, you know what, AI can take over so many of these jobs. We can streamline the content and the production. But you're seeing since the year 2000, where AI has taken over more and more jobs, and the production has been more and more streamlined, and more reboots, remakes, reshoots, cover movies have been produced than ever before. But in the end, the all amount of movies that have been produced is drastically, decreasing at an incredible rate. If you think about in 1928, studios were producing up to 90 movies a year. This is what I think last year the whole of Hollywood has produced, 90 movies, something like that. This was produced 1928 by one studio alone. So there is an incredible disparity to how we use our workforce. That definitely is there. The Teamsters are there, the actors are there, the creatives are there, but we are not using them effectively. And we're thinking by streamlining, moving and applying more and more cost reduction, measures, by introducing more and more mechanisms of draining money and not improving the workforce, we're just making the product soulless, right? We're producing soulless products, and the numbers are not good. So they're not really working out. So Hollywood definitely has changed. Will it die? Probably not. It will always change. And there will be new adaptations and new collaborations and new filmmakers showing up. And what I believe will happen is definitely there's going to be a radical reduction of workforce. We all have to face it, I guess. Whether the strike is coming or not, it won't prevent the big showdown in the end, right? And what I believe that will be is industries like, we discovered a couple of Reddits that maybe will kind of showcase what I'm talking about, that I think, like, in the research for producing this open class doodle today, kind of we stumbled across it. Quite telling, right? So here we have this Reddit that is very interesting, talking about, is the film industry dying? Is the film industry actually dying? The question is more to start or open up in the discussion. I believe that's super healthy. And I think I first heard that the film industry was dying about 35 years ago, and I've been ever since. True, I've heard that too 35 years ago. The industry has been in constant state of flux from its very inception, will continue to do so, I agree. If you get used to how the industry is for a brief moment when you're comfortable, and then the flux will quickly feel like it's dying, because the way it was 2 months ago is in fact dead. Well, yes and no. I mean, of course, I know what he wants to say. It feels like time is passing by very quickly, and we accumulate a lot of experiences, and something that was 2 months ago seems already so far, and yeah, it is already dead, but it's not really dead. It's still kind of resonating and revibrating in us, right? Some of the stuff is still relevant that happened there. I feel like what people are concerned about is more that the culture in itself, it seems like a very reproductive, tasteless type of bland product that is coming out. If you imagine Hollywood being an ice cream parlor, a couple of years ago, like in the 90s, it was like one of the greatest ice cream parlors in the world, right? You could find incredible different tastes and very, very delicious ice cream, right? Very, very colorful. If you go to Hollywood now, I feel like it's a very small ice cream parlor. The products are just a few. We have superhero movies. There's just one ice cream, right? Feels like purple, and it tastes similar. And then we have all sorts of, social justice movies that some were made good, some are not, have heavy political message that were praised. Then we have freaky, weird movies, right? That somehow kind of have their own niche. If you think at everything, everywhere, all at once, I mean, really look at that movie, right? Last year it won the Oscar for Best Movie. Really, it's an editing chaos. It's a spectacle of effects and of collapsing and pictures that are crashing into each other with a lot of noise. And it's a very gibberish type of plot that has been put together in order to explain and kind of apologize for all these scenes. But really, is that the best you can do? That is the best movie of the year according to the Oscars. Everything, everywhere, all at once. I think this is what people feel like. You have an ice cream parlor where you have like 4 tastes and not like 100 tastes like still existing in the 90s, or 400 tastes at least, right? It feels like a drastic reduction of possibilities what you get nowadays at the box office. It all feels very generic and very same-ish. No, there is a growing wave of people wanting to get away from the horrible charm factory of streaming platforms, and in general human wanting to go back to genuine experiences that I don't think are anywhere near as potent on a 42-inch Samsung versus the cinema. I agree. Look at the popularity of film photography despite all the easy digital offerings. There's just no way it's dying. It's evolving and it's fighting. I think, yeah, it's evolving. It will shrink. It will have a contraction, and then we'll have an expansion again, like I said in the beginning, for sure. Netflix is in solid profits, yeah, but Netflix is pretty much the only one in solid profits, right? But many other competitors are not in good shape. Absolutely. Paramount Plus is suffering a lot. Warner Brothers Max, or it's called, is suffering a lot. And Netflix also lost 820,000 subscribers, something like that, and plummeted also at the stock market for a long time. So it's changing. Someone, Galaxy Hiker 42, is claiming it's changing. I'm booked solid through May, potentially January 25. The industry bloated during the pandemic and shortly after. It's in the re-education stage. This happened after the last strike in 28. It took a solid year for things to equalize. It will take longer this go around because of the potential Iatse strike. Studios are just not greenlighting much unless it has a few names behind it. There's a bunch of tier movies that are being made. Yeah, sure, tier movie that are being made. Sure. But look, I think from 29 to 2016, we had, I think, I don't know, there was like a crazy number about how many how many billion-dollar movies were actually made. And not only is this a business model that is wearing out because of the lack of stories and interesting characters, and about also the woke culture that's been, kind of insected into it, and that made people mad. Some of them didn't care, but most of them kind of stayed away from rewatching it. Which is hugely important for a movie to hit, $1 billion. And, people debating on Reddit as well. And most of them are just saying it's kind of in this reshaping type of process. And in a way, yes, I agree. But we have to definitely take care of not losing sight of what the essence of filmmaking is, right? Telling stories. And that has been kept for 23 years, mostly, throughout these years, throughout these 2.5 decades almost, that has been kept away from us. The 90s were all about the storytelling, crazy storytelling, crazy movies, incredible storytelling, and don't forget, Matrix started production 94, and then it was shot in 1999. It was one of those last
incredible, groundbreaking movies of the 90s, right? And that kind of, from the shift from 2000 on, yes, we had some superhero movies that still, but again, that was all like, that was just the rat's tail from the 90s. And as soon as that stopped, this new creation that we got stopped telling us great stories. They were focused on many different social subjects and topics, and some of them were actually not that bad, you know. Of course, I mean, you can do about any type of topic that you want to cover. Is it your sexuality? You know, make a movie out of it. There are very good movies about it. And on the indie festivals that we, like, my wife and I are heavy festival goers. We love short movie festivals. Actually, yesterday we went to the Filmgate Festival over here in Miami. It's a beautiful monthly opportunity for filmmakers to submit their material if they're from Florida, if they happen to shoot their movies in Florida, or if you're somehow connected to the Florida cruise. And you know, there is hope. When we're, you know, over there every month, you can see so many great like flicks and ideas and visual stories, right? And so the film industry, I feel, is still alive. The soul is still there, but the access to the industry has become so hard and difficult that these projects are all sidelined. They're just little organisms, right? As if they're just sucking off from the big worm that somehow is controlled by Hollywood, and it's, you know, consistent content plan that doesn't include these small manufacturers of entertainment wonders and motion picture magics, right? Magical moments. So therefore, it's hard for them to get in touch. But we're experiencing a lot of great movies. So the creators are there, the creatives are definitely existing, and the stories are there as well. We need to get back to them. You know, we need to give these young filmmakers a chance again, a shot again, away from over digitalizing, over, you know, kind of overloading digitally or visually the movie, and kind of coming back to overloading it spiritually and internally and story wise, right? From its narration standpoint. This, I think, what people miss the most from movies nowadays. And so we have to ask our questions where Hollywood does want to go with this, right? Here also, is Hollywood on a decline? Is it because it's woke now? Yeah, we're covering this on Saturday night a lot. Yeah, has Hollywood destroyed itself with its embrace of vacuous woke culture? Yes, the actual focus more on race and gender than normal people do, which separates people further. Yeah, I agree. They skip quality writing, acting, direction, etc., all in favor for a checkbox of diversity. Yeah, most of the times they've even introduced new diversity quotas to the Oscar, you know, winning circle, and it has become, you know, increasingly also difficult to win an Oscar because you have to check all these boxes. And if you look at the Armor of Rust, for example, right? I feel like that's a good example. When you hire people that are there more for the agenda than for the actual craft that they can produce and display, then, you know, sometimes you have those incidents happening, right? I'm not saying that's the only reason, but, you know, if you look back into time, and I look at the armorers from back in the days, these were like heavy guys, old, very professional people. You know, they knew how to handle these businesses, and, you know, fewer incidents happened. I mean, I'm not saying that didn't happen, of course, even then, but if you increase stress, if you increase rush, if you increase pressure, if you increase deadlines, if you increase all that, and then in addition to that, you hire people that are not necessarily there because they fully fulfill you know, the description of the role, but also maybe partially also because they somehow, you know, fulfill a political or a quota that is given, you know, through a law or some other statutes and measures and accordances, and then, you know, then you have the problem of not having the skilled worker where he should be in those fundamental positions that are pivotal to, you know, delivering a great motion picture, and to keep also the crew and the actors safe, like in this case, right? So definitely we've encountered many stories like this where it has been even, you know, yeah, a very dramatic development of hiring the wrong force because of politics and not because of merit. Then you have the fact that bad woke movies make people think movies are bad because diversity. Exactly, which further creates systemic issues in society. I agree. I mean, I don't have anything. I mean, I grew up with Spike Lee movies. I grew up with hip hop music, right? My whole culture is black, right? It is what it is, right? I grew up with rap, with graffiti. I mean, absolutely, and that's been heavy influenced by the black community. I mean, there's no other way to say it. Afro Americans and all that, and so I grew up with that slang. So for me, of course, I want to see those movies. But if you have someone in a position just because of his skin color, that doesn't make sense in the context of the movie, of the myth, of the canon, of the story that's been told from its historical backdrop or from its society, you know, environmental backdrop, where you can just imagine a people of that skin color being placed in that situation, then your mind goes all the times like, it's weird, right? And you don't enjoy the entertainment anymore, not necessarily. It can definitely drive you away from fully enjoying, and not because the actor is not performing well, right? It's just because sometimes it's just a strange decision that makes you think the whole time more about decision than the movie or just what happens and what evolves in terms of storyline, right? And we don't have anything against people of color or any other type of people. Like, you know, I'm in love with Japanese movies. I'm in love with Chinese movies, with Korean movies. I'm in love with the black movie culture. So I mean, I could, you know, I've watched movies from all over the globe, and every corner, every aspect is fascinating and interesting to learn and to get in touch with. I gotta get to work, but this has been very interesting. Keep it up. Have a great stream, Sanya. Thank you so much for stopping by today. And Serena says, I think producing a good film, soap operas, etc., is not easy. To me, as I said, you and Miriam are still my favorite as a TV couple and actors. Thank you. I can imagine there's a lot of work behind. Oh yeah, it's enormous. It's absolutely enormous. But we do it because we love it. And you know what we also love? Something that we will do on the 27th of April. Yes. Want to know what that is? It's our next open masterclass. Yes. We call it open masterclass. Open class seems too close to open class doodles. Masterclass is a bit boring. So maybe it's the open masterclass because registration is for free. And we will break down the script. Definitely one of the actor's superpowers. Super important to kind of study that beautiful script that you have and kind of extract the most out of it. We will teach you how to do it. It's a very script heavy and very specific type of open class. I definitely look forward to this because it's so different from what we usually do, and it's because it's way more about kind of deciphering the intent of the author and deconstructing, decoding the words and analyzing deeply what they mean to you and how they inform you and how they inspire you and what they kind of they trigger. And so therefore, this is something that goes more into the imagination part and more in kind of constructing a character. And it's a beautiful craft that is so important to, you know, building compelling and interesting characters. So definitely stop by. It's why am I smiling so stupidly? Why? My wife also always tells me like, hey, look, I mean, what is it that am I doing with my mouth? I guess I tried to make like a half smile. Why am I smiling like this? It's totally stupid. You're right, Amore. I shouldn't do these mouth movements. But definitely, besides the horrible smile here, this open class is a great addition to your toolbox, believe me. Knowing exactly how you can get the most out of a script and how to immediately jumpstart kind of, you know, the memorizing, but also the activization, right? You activate by memorizing the line, something inside of you. And also, if we're talking about cold readings, right? Sometimes you have a casting and they just give you material and say, hey, you know what? Just in 15 minutes, right? Just to have that, okay, what can I do in 15 minutes? What can I extract, right? Just to really be affected about really kind of taking out what's really essential, understanding the text, memorizing it effectively and quickly, but breaking down the words and understanding what the author is trying to tell you, what he's trying to give you, and how you can build a character out of it. Super, super important. Also, if you have to do something quickly, right? Kind of assessing that and understanding how the script works. It's, like I said, it's a superpower of us. Yes, guys. We talked about the possibilities of the strike coming in, the implications. We talked about how important it is to kind of, follow the subject and to kind of take care that you don't lose sight of the developments of the industry, so you can position yourself when there is fear, when there's uncertainty, when there's despair and doubt. This is where you should zoom out. This is where you should take a look at the industry and saying, what are the big players doing? Not what are they saying, what are they doing, where they're moving their money. Do your research, like understand where the industry is moving. What are they producing? Where is their content going? Is this a growing business model? Is this a dying business model? How should I position myself? And, all these things are super important because they make you more part of the industry. You're not an observer anymore and trying to like, oh, this is all mysterious. I don't know why things are, kind of evolving this way. And sometimes actors bail acting or they get frustrated because of that, because they're not informed enough. And so they don't know what's happening. And it's this frustration of being in the middle of this fog, right? And not knowing where you should go next that makes you kind of bail and exit the industry sometimes. So also to have this type of perspective is important to survive long term. Not only your talent and your passion for your job, but also to have a robust amount of information and networks going on where you can position yourself. Because in the end, also these comments were a testimony to this. I believe, of course, we will always shoot movies. We will always produce content. We will always be out there. And there is just sometimes there is major contractions going on and major expansions. We're definitely in the contraction period, that's for sure. And that means learn to kind of, exploit that, because in the future, there will be the need again for that type of content that inspires people, that goes back to storytelling, that goes back to the hero, to the classical hero's journey, that is not too much invaded and infected by agendas or political issues or some sort of statements. I'm not saying that these political or social statements that you want to make are bad per se, but you can have them inserted differently. You can make it less violent, and you can also do it not in a way where you should upset your fans or tell them that this is the only way now. It's just otherwise, you don't respect the creator or the vision for his art. It's like, no, because every fan has the right to also see the product from his perspective, and there shouldn't be someone preoccupied with telling us how we should perceive entertainment. There should be someone preoccupied by producing great entertainment. And like we said also with the Iatse strike, that is just a testimony for all the things that need to be fixed in this industry. The Teamsters need the recognition. They need to be paid fully. I mean, we've heard about, and I want to spare you some of these stories because they're really horrible sometimes, where people felt just completely exploited by their producers, working their asses off, getting into depression, falling into a burnout hole, a dark hole for months because they've been squandered completely, and then there is no reciprocate, there is no returning in terms of not only wage but also fair and just behavior and kind of dealing with all these extra factors that are more from a human and manipulative standpoint and power standpoint rather than from the technical and the creative effort that needs to be done in order to kind of get the job done, right? These are just additional pressure points that are unnecessary. Clean this industry out. Otherwise, we will have to do it, right? And revolutionize the system once again. And like I said, I believe we are in this cycle where this is happening. 1960 was one cycle, then we had 2000, which was another cycle that was born. This cycle is declining. 2040 will be the start of a very next potent, very great move, and we are in the beginning of that, kind of diminishing trend. Now everything is ending from that old cycle, from that old paradigm, and soon, I think 2025, 2026, we will already kind of see the upswing back to better ground, better movies, better product, better storytelling, more believable and authentic motion pictures, and also a complete new positioning of this medium as well, because cameras are going to get better, technological improvements, AI is definitely going to make movie making also it will complete, like, I think through AI, the way we can produce movies also in the future just for ourselves, and how we can add more and more content to the internet. I think there will be meta movies going on in the future, multiple display methods, but I think also theaters will be revived through that trend as well. I'm sorry. And it's definitely something I'm excited for, because in the end, it's us. It's always us creating. It's always us participating. It's always making this culture will work better. So, both fingers crossed, all fingers crossed to the Teamsters, to the strike goers, to the negotiations that are taking place right now with the Iatse, union members. Hopefully that this business will get back on its tracks and its old roots and its way of thinking, and coming back to its original purpose, making entertainment, not politics, definitely, and not exploiting, the hell out of their workforce, kind of treating this business a bit fair, because in the end, right, we're producing cartoons, we're producing movies, we're court jesters. This is not open brain surgery, right? So we're not performing some sort of we're performing a miracle in our closed studio lot, yes, for sure, but this is not, it's not something that needs that type of exploitation of the human work, of the labor, because it just ruins that spirit, right? You can have fair compensation, you can have more shifts, you just have more employees that cover multiple sectors, and going back to a more human and healthy way of producing movies, and also of spending. Because if you look at the spending, sometimes you think, yes, I mean, of course, if you spend $400 million in marketing because you believe the movie is weak anyway, and you have to kind of overcompensate for the lack of production value, and the movie still costs 200 million or 175, then you still have paid, nearly $600 million just to get this movie out there. Of course, I mean, the money should come somewhere, but again, if you focus just from the beginning on producing something marvelous, and telling great stories, and coming back to original concepts, and you will see that slowly the population will come back to movie theaters, will come back to romanticism, will come back to dancing under the moonlight, will come back to singing on the bridges, will come back to marry me right here, right now, in the middle of the street. And in the back we have the Eiffel Tower, and there's the ring is in a little croissant. She breaks it up and she starts dancing as well, right? To these romantic scenes. Let's get back to these beautiful episodes of craziness, right? And so therefore, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. We will keep you updated on Hollywood's affairs and state of the art, and what goes on with the Teamsters and the other development of entertainment nature, of course, as well. Follow us for more content on Instagram, on Twitter. Be guests on our beautiful show next Tuesday as well, where we will talk with Dragon Slayer commentaries about ancient ruins. I will be part of the Saturday Night Hypnosis panel on Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And many other beautiful videos will come out. Talks on acting with Stavros Batras, great comedian from Greece. And we have the new episode of the Acting Alphabet that is about to come out as well. So there's a lot to enjoy over here on the channel. Subscribe if you haven't so far. Check out the other videos, our meditation playlist. Don't forget our meditation playlist. It's just beautiful to see that playlist is our all-time, it's our all-time favorite. It always gets played. People seem to enjoy it a lot. So give it a try. Try one of our performance meditations. They really enlighten you. They give you a new breath and a new way of seeing this beautiful craft. Stay alive, guys. Stay hungry. Stay thirsty. Stay passionate. This business will never die. Hollywood will never die, because in a way, Hollywood is us. It's not a sign somewhere on a hill in California. It's us. We are the stars, right? We are the producers of entertainment. We are creating these worlds. Invest in that, in your Hollywood, in your temple. Invest in yourself, and you will see great things will come your way no matter what happens. I will get you covered with the next episode on Tuesday, like I said. And till then, I wish you just the best. Be creative, be hungry, be sharp, be focused. And now you're ready to perform.